Is restricted ankle mobility holding you back in your training? By simply improving ankle mobility, this will improve things like your squats and your lunges, as well as your running gait. Ankle mobility, specifically ankle dorsiflexion, which is the ability of the shin to travel forward over the knee, you use in day-to-day tasks like walking, and you especially see it when you're walking uphill or downhill. But where limited ankle dorsiflexion starts to really play out is in your squat pattern, either your back squat or your split squat variations. Yes, you can use some sort of heel raise, but this is simply working around the issue and it's not coming at the root cause of the ankle mobility. So how do you improve your ankle dorsiflexion? First of all, you want to start with some form of passive stretch. So first of all, you come down into this half kneeling position, then from there, keep your foot flat on the floor, you push that knee forward over the toe so you get to the point you're in your maximum ankle dorsiflexion. That variation is good, but it can be a little bit more comfortable in a crouch position. From there, you can lever your body weight into the top leg to really push some weight into the stretch. The crouch position also lends itself really nicely to adding a little bit of weight onto the knee, so that external load plus your body weight just adds a little bit of extra tension so you can get a little bit more workload going into the ankle to get deeper into that stretch position. I also really like this elevated variation because from here you can hold onto the box or the bench and then you can pull yourself plus that body weight pressing into the leg to get deeper into the stretch. Now in each of those variations, when you're in that stretch position, you should be feeling that some sort of lengthening sensation at the back of the leg. If the overriding feeling that you get is a pinching sensation at the front of the foot, then potentially you are driving the top bone into some structure beneath it. And this is where a banded variation comes in really useful. So for this one, you elevate your foot onto the step, position a band around the ankle, and then from there push forward. The idea of this one is the band's pulling back against the foot, and as you push forward, the band tractions the ankle, gaps the joint a little bit, and just gives you a bit more space to move through. It's really key when positioning the band that you place the band on the foot, and the band itself is set up anchored down towards the ground. So the band is pulling down and back whilst you push forward into the stretch. But if that pinching sensation persists even with the banded variation, then you might want to work on your ankle plantar flexion. So to do that, you want to point your toe back behind you so the soft section of the foot is close to the floor, and then from there put a little bit of weight onto the ankle, very similar to how you would have done with the dorsiflexion variation, and try and create some stretch at the front of the ankle. And if you get into the habit of doing the ankle plantar flexion and the banded variation, you should be able to get a better range of motion and work around that pinching sensation. A note about conventional calf stretching. Most people make the mistake that they feel their ankles are restricted and they do the classic calf stretch, dropping the heel off the edge of a step. Now the problem with this is it stretches the gastrocnemius, and that muscle crosses both the knee and the hip. But by keeping the leg straight, because you're now stretching the actual muscle itself, you're not actually going to experience full ankle dorsiflexion. And if you think about it, in the squat pattern, the knees are bent, so your calf isn't going to be a major contributor to lack of ankle mobility. I have no major issue if someone wants to do a calf stretch, but it's probably not going to get to what you're trying to do if you want it to carry over to something like a squat. So keep the majority of your ankle mobility, like the exercise I've described, with the knees bent. Now that you've passively opened up some range of motion with those stretches, it's time to start to work that range of motion with your strength training. So you can do things like your body weight squats to really reinforce the bottom of that position, as well as your split squat variations, really trying to make sure you maximize the ankle dorsiflexion that's available to you. And I really like exercises like a step down where you can train that ankle dorsiflexion independently, really leaning your way over that front leg to train through your full range of motion ankle dorsiflexion with a strength component. And a word on coaching squat technique, because you often hear trainers say to sit back into the squat to load the hips. But if you're actively trying to incorporate more ankle dorsiflexion into your training, then I'd encourage you to go into a knee break in your squat and then sit back into the hips, so you're getting as much ankle dorsiflexion into all your squat patterns as possible. One of the things to be aware of with the ankle dorsiflexion is on a 2 feet squat variation, if you squat down and your knees are limited in how far forward they can go, the only way you can continue to come down is for the hips to go back. And if the hips go back, then the torso has to tip forward. So if you do have restricted ankle dorsiflexion and you want to do a 2-footed squat variation, it is advisable to do that with a heel raise so you can stay a little bit more upright in the squat. Now, squatting with a heel raise isn't a bad thing, but all you're ever doing is working around the issue, you're not actually fixing the problem. And if you've got one ankle that's tight but the other one has better range of motion, what you'll notice will happen as you get down to the bottom of your squat, because one of the ankles can't go any further, that means the knee joint can't go any any further. So for me to get any further down into the position, the body starts to turn towards the restricted ankle. So if you have one ankle that's more restricted to the other, then I would either suggest to use a heel raise or potentially not do a 2 feet bilateral squat and to do some sort of split squat variation instead. Next is a word of warning. Do not bombard your ankles with tons of new mobility exercises. I like the idea of doing a little bit every session rather than really aggressive work in any one session. I'd avoid doing very long static holds, especially if you're using the loaded variation, and don't go from doing long holds to something dynamic like a jump. Because as much as improving ankle mobility is important, the feet actually are constantly interacting with the ground, so they need that reactive quality and that strength. So I'd also suggest to incorporate some plyometric drills like pogos, split stance pogos, and alternating pogos, because this trains the reactive quality of the foot to hit the floor. Because an important question to ask is, why are your ankles tight? Potentially it is an issue with strength or the efficiency of the foot overall. So thinking about using the plyometrics to improve that efficiency and utilizing strength training to help rather than it just being about hammering mobility. If you do intend to try and work on improving your ankle dorsiflexion, it would make sense to know how much you have by measuring it. So to do that, you come up against a flat wall and you simply put your toe against the wall, push your knee against the wall. If you can touch it, pull the foot further away. You keep doing that until you can no longer touch the wall with your knee, and that gives you your active dorsiflexion, and you measure from the toe to the wall and you repeat that on both sides. That's everything you need to know to start to improve your ankle mobility and get better results in your training. If you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more coaching insights and educational material.